Diane sat quietly at her kitchen table, the steam from her morning tea curling into the air. A friendly chat with a neighbor had spiraled into something she never anticipated, her personal life becoming the latest topic of gossip. If you're 55 to 75, you might understand how oversharing can lead to unintended misunderstandings or worse, fractured trust. In this listicle, we'll uncover 9 essential things you should never share with anyone. Let's start with the one most often overlooked: your financial details. 1. Personal financial details. Sharing financial information can feel harmless at first, especially with those you trust. But what starts as a casual mention of your retirement savings or recent expenses can quickly spiral into judgment, advice, or even resentment. For Diane, the unsolicited advice she received left her questioning her decisions and feeling more vulnerable than ever. Financial matters are deeply personal, and sharing too much can lead to uncomfortable dynamics. Friends might compare their own finances to yours, or worse, start treating you differently based on assumptions about your wealth, or lack thereof. Oversharing financial details can breed feelings of inadequacy or superiority in relationships, creating a subtle but persistent strain. For seniors, particularly, it's crucial to maintain peace of mind and focus on enjoying life without these added stressors. Instead of discussing your finances with friends or neighbors, reserve these conversations for financial advisors or trusted family members with a clear purpose. For example, if you're seeking advice about retirement plans, frame the discussion around your goals, not specifics like dollar amounts. By keeping financial details private, you preserve the integrity of your relationships and protect yourself from unnecessary stress. This simple boundary can lead to a stronger sense of security and confidence in your financial decisions. 2. Medical diagnoses or health scares. Diane had always believed in being open about her life, including her health. When she recently mentioned a minor medical scare to her book club, the responses were overwhelming, and not in a good way. One friend bombarded her with horror stories, while another offered dubious advice. Diane left the meeting feeling more anxious than reassured. Discussing health issues can sometimes bring more harm than good. While it's natural to seek support, oversharing can invite fear-mongering, unsolicited advice, or even pity. These reactions can leave you feeling worse, not better. Health issues are often tied to feelings of vulnerability and fear. Sharing too much can amplify these emotions if the responses you receive are less than supportive. When Diane had her follow-up appointment and received good news, she realized the importance of choosing the right audience for such conversations. Instead of turning to her book club, she confided in her doctor and a close family member. These were people who could provide informed advice and genuine comfort. If you need to talk about your health, choose 1 or 2 trusted confidants who can offer the right kind of support. Alternatively, consider joining a support group with individuals facing similar challenges. This ensures you're surrounded by empathy and understanding. Protecting your privacy allows you to process your health journey on your terms. This sense of control can lead to reduced anxiety and a stronger focus on healing and well-being. 3. Family drama and disputes. Family gatherings are often filled with laughter and love, but they can also bring up old tensions. Diane learned this the hard way after confiding in her neighbor about a disagreement with her daughter. She was looking for a sympathetic ear, but instead, the neighbor shared her story with others in the community. Before Diane knew it, private family matters became public knowledge. Sharing family disputes outside the family circle can lead to gossip, misunderstandings, and even embarrassment. The trust you've worked hard to build within your family may be damaged if word gets back to them. It's natural to want to vent when emotions run high, but confiding in someone who isn't directly involved often complicates the situation rather than resolving it. Instead of venting to her neighbor, Diane decided to write her feelings down in a private journal. This allowed her to process her emotions without involving others. Later, she approached her daughter directly, and they were able to work through their differences without outside interference. If you feel the need to talk, choose someone impartial, like a counselor or mediator, who can provide constructive guidance. Avoid discussing family matters with acquaintances or individuals who might inadvertently spread the story further. By keeping family drama within the family, you foster trust and intimacy among your loved ones. This approach not only protects relationships, but also ensures that your private life remains just that, private. 4. Long-term goals and plans. It's exciting to share your dreams, isn't it? Whether it's a cross-country trip, a new hobby, or a big family project, putting your plans into words can feel like taking the first step. But Diane discovered the hard way that not everyone cheers as loudly as you'd hope. When Diane mentioned her goal of visiting Europe to a longtime friend, she was met with skepticism. At your age? That sounds exhausting. The words stung, and Diane found herself second-guessing a dream she'd been planning for years. Sharing your plans can sometimes attract negativity, whether intentional or not. People may project their fears, doubts, or opinions onto your goals, making you feel unsupported or even foolish. Dreams and goals are delicate, especially in their early stages. Sharing them too soon can expose them to criticism that dampens your enthusiasm. Diane decided to keep her Europe trip plans close to her heart, sharing only with a trusted friend who had similar interests. This friend not only supported her dream, but also helped her refine her itinerary. If you're excited about a goal, consider writing it down or sharing it selectively with people who truly understand your aspirations. By protecting your dreams, you maintain your excitement and focus. When you're ready to share, you'll have already built the confidence to pursue them wholeheartedly. 5. Conflicts with close friends. Diane still remembers the awkward silence that followed her confession. She had vented to a mutual friend about a recent argument with her best friend, Ellen. She thought it would help, but instead, it only fueled the tension. Conflicts are a natural part of any relationship, but when they're shared with outsiders, they can take on a life of their own. Mutual friends may feel pressured to take sides, and the person you're upset with may hear about your grievances secondhand, complicating the situation even further. When Ellen eventually found out about the venting session, she was hurt. "Why didn't you just come to me?" Ellen asked. That moment was a turning point for Diane. She realized that addressing conflicts directly, rather than involving others, was the healthier choice. If you're upset with a friend, take some time to cool off before addressing the issue. Then, approach them directly with kindness and honesty. Use I statements to express your feelings without assigning blame. For example, "I felt hurt when this happened, and I'd like to talk about it." Resolving conflicts directly strengthens the bond between friends. It shows respect and builds trust, ensuring the relationship can weather future challenges. 6. Secrets from your past. Diane loved her book club. It was a place where she felt connected, valued, and free to share her thoughts. But one evening, in a burst of nostalgia, she shared a deeply personal story from her youth, one she'd never spoken about before. While the group responded kindly, Diane couldn't shake a feeling of vulnerability afterward. Your past is a treasure trove of experiences that have shaped who you are, but some stories are better left untold. Sharing deeply personal secrets can leave you feeling exposed, especially if they're met with judgment or pity. Before sharing, pause and ask, "Why am I sharing this, and what do I hope to gain?" If the answer doesn't align with your emotional well-being, it's worth considering. After that evening, Diane decided to save her most intimate stories for her journal. Writing allowed her to process her feelings without the risk of outside opinions. Later, she found a counselor who provided a safe space to share and heal. Consider journaling or seeking professional support for stories that feel too personal for casual conversation. If you do choose to share, ensure it's with someone you trust implicitly. Your past doesn't define you, and you're under no obligation to share it. By choosing when and with whom to open up, you take control of your narrative and protect your emotional well-being. 7. Negative opinions about others. It was during a casual lunch with her bridge group when Diane made an offhand comment about a mutual friend. "Did you hear how late she was to the party? She's always so unreliable." The words seemed harmless at the moment, but a week later, the friend in question confronted Diane. Someone had repeated the comment, and the damage was done. Sharing negative opinions, even innocently, can create waves of mistrust. It not only impacts your relationship with the person you're speaking about, but also changes how others perceive you. People may wonder, if she's saying this about them, what does she say about me? Diane realized that venting her frustration in the moment wasn't worth the fallout. She began practicing a simple rule. If it's not kind or constructive, don't say it at all. Instead, she focused on redirecting conversations to positive or neutral topics, preserving the trust and harmony within her social circle. If you find yourself tempted to criticize someone, pause and ask yourself why. Are you genuinely seeking advice, or are you venting frustration? If it's the latter, consider writing it down privately or speaking with someone you trust who won't share it further. Keeping negative opinions to yourself fosters peace in your relationships and protects your reputation. Over time, you'll notice a shift in how people interact with you. Trust and warmth replace suspicion and defensiveness. 8. Passwords and security information. Diane's nephew had always been her go-to for tech advice. One day, while troubleshooting her email, she casually handed over her password. A week later, she found her account compromised, not by her nephew, but because the password had been stored insecurely on his shared device. Passwords and other security details might seem trivial, but they hold the keys to your digital and financial life. Sharing them, even with trusted family members, increases the risk of accidental misuse or exposure to cyber threats. Diane realized that while her nephew had no ill intentions, sharing her password wasn't necessary. By keeping her security details private, she could prevent similar incidents in the future without putting strain on their relationship. Create a secure, memorable system for managing your passwords. There are tools like password managers that can safely store your information without requiring you to share it with anyone. If you must share a password temporarily, change it immediately afterward. You're not being distrustful by keeping security information private. You're being proactive. This habit protects your accounts and gives you peace of mind, knowing that your digital life is safe from unintended breaches. 9. Unfinished emotional business. On a quiet evening, Diane found herself reminiscing about her late husband. There were moments of regret and unresolved emotions that still lingered, but when she opened up to a casual acquaintance about these feelings, she was met with discomfort and awkward advice. The interaction left her feeling worse, not better. Unfinished emotional business is deeply personal. Sharing these unresolved feelings with the wrong person can lead to unwanted judgment or advice that misses the mark. It's important to choose when and how to share these emotions. Instead of confiding in acquaintances, Diane began seeing a counselor. This safe, supportive space allowed her to process her feelings without fear of judgment. Over time, she also found comfort in journaling, where she could freely express her emotions without worrying about others' reactions. if you're dealing with unresolved emotions, consider professional support or a creative outlet like writing, painting, or music. These methods allow you to explore your feelings safely and constructively. By processing emotional business privately, you gain clarity and healing on your terms. You'll feel a deeper sense of peace, unburdened by the fear of judgment or misunderstanding. 10. Other people's negative judgments. Diane was at a community potluck when someone commented on her choice to bring a store-bought dish. "Homemade is always better," the person said, with a smile that didn't quite reach their eyes. The comment lingered, making Diane second-guess herself, even though she knew she'd been busy helping her granddaughter earlier that day. Negative judgments from others, even when subtle, can erode your confidence. They plant seeds of self-doubt, making you question decisions you were once sure of. Diane realized that allowing these comments to affect her mood gave away her power and peace. Instead of letting the comment ruin her evening, Diane decided to reframe it. "It's not about what others think," she reminded herself. "It's about the time I saved to spend with my family." She shared this perspective with her granddaughter, turning the moment into a lesson about self-worth. When faced with judgment, pause and ask yourself, is this about me, or is it a reflection of their preferences or insecurities? Center your focus on your values and the reasons behind your choices. Journaling or talking it out with someone supportive can also help shift your perspective. By detaching from others' judgments, you create space for self-compassion and confidence. Diane felt proud of her decision, knowing her priorities aligned with what truly mattered, her family and her peace of mind. 11. Unnecessary apologies. Diane had a habit of apologizing for things that weren't her fault or didn't require one. Whether it was apologizing for the weather when hosting an outdoor event or saying sorry for asking a question in class, these small, constant apologies chipped away at her confidence over time. When you apologize unnecessarily, you send a message to yourself and others that you're somehow at fault, or that your needs and presence are an inconvenience. Over time, this habit can diminish your self-esteem and make others less likely to take your concerns seriously. During a crafting workshop, Diane bumped into a table and immediately apologized, even though no one was affected. A fellow participant smiled and said, "You don't need to apologize for that." The comment made Diane realize how often she said sorry without thinking. She decided it was time to break the habit. Replace unnecessary apologies with gratitude or acknowledgement. For example, instead of saying, "Sorry for being late," say, "Thank you for waiting for me." Practice pausing before apologizing to assess whether it's truly needed. Diane found that as she apologized less, she felt more confident and empowered. By valuing her presence and actions, she fostered a greater sense of self-worth and authenticity. 12. Downplaying achievements. Diane had recently finished a challenging quilt project for her grandson. When her friends admired it, she brushed it off with, "Oh, it's nothing special," even though it had taken weeks of effort and creativity. Later, she realized she dismissed her own hard work out of a fear of appearing boastful. Many of us, especially women, are taught to be humble to the point of invisibility. While humility is a virtue, constantly downplaying your achievements robs you of the joy and recognition you deserve. It also sets an example for others that it's okay to undervalue your contributions. Diane decided to change the narrative. The next time someone complimented her work, she smiled and said, "Thank you. I'm really proud of how it turned out." This simple shift not only allowed her to feel appreciated, but also inspired others to celebrate their own accomplishments. Practice accepting compliments graciously. A simple "thank you" is often enough. If you feel compelled to say more, share a positive detail about the experience like, "It was a lot of fun to work on," Over time, this practice will help you embrace and celebrate your achievements. By owning your accomplishments, you inspire others to do the same. Diane felt a renewed sense of pride in her work, and her confidence blossomed as she recognized the value of her contributions. 13. Overexplaining your decisions. It was a quiet afternoon at the community garden when Diane noticed a friend's puzzled expression. "Why didn't you plant tomatoes this year?" her friend asked. Caught off guard, Diane immediately launched into an explanation about her time constraints, her plans to try new crops, and the weather forecast. Later, she realized that her friend likely didn't need or even want all that detail. Overexplaining often stems from a desire to avoid judgment or to prove that your decisions are justified. However, this habit can leave you feeling drained and overly vulnerable. Diane realized that constantly explaining herself gave away more energy than necessary. Your choices don't need to be validated by anyone else. Diane started practicing shorter, more confident responses like, "I just felt like trying something different this year." She noticed that people rarely pressed for more details, and even when they did, she felt no obligation to elaborate. The next time you catch yourself over-explaining, pause and ask, "Does this person truly need all this information?" Keep your response concise and practice confidence in your decision. Diane found that simplifying her responses freed her from the need for approval. This not only saved her energy, but also reinforced her self-assurance and sense of autonomy. 14. Sharing your fears without boundaries. One evening, Diane sat on her porch, chatting with her sister about an upcoming surgery. "I'm terrified," Diane admitted, tears welling in her eyes. Her sister's response was well-meaning but unhelpful. "You'll be fine. You're overreacting." Diane felt dismissed, and her fear lingered, unresolved. While it's natural to seek comfort when afraid, sharing your deepest fears with the wrong person can leave you feeling invalidated or misunderstood. Diane learned that not everyone is equipped to offer the reassurance or guidance she needed. Instead of sharing her worries indiscriminately, Diane began seeking support in ways that felt more constructive. She joined a group for individuals facing similar medical challenges, where she found empathy and understanding. When sharing fears, choose someone who will listen without judgment and offer constructive support. Alternatively, consider professional counseling or self-soothing practices like meditation to manage your emotions privately. By being intentional about where she sought comfort, Diane felt more secure and less burdened by her fears. This allowed her to face challenges with greater courage and resilience. 15. Revealing private moments shared with loved ones. As Diane looked through old photos with her granddaughter, they laughed and reminisced about cherished family moments. But Diane remembered a time when she'd shared a personal family story with a friend, only to have it retold at a gathering. The retelling, stripped of its intimacy, had left Diane feeling exposed and regretful. Family moments, especially those shared in confidence, hold a special significance. Sharing them outside the circle of those who experience them can diminish their meaning and invite unwelcome interpretations or gossip. Diane decided that certain stories were too personal to share casually. Instead, she began creating a scrapbook filled with memories and anecdotes meant only for her family. It became a treasured keepsake, a way to honor and preserve those moments without exposing them to outsiders. Think carefully before sharing personal stories, especially those involving others. If the memory is deeply meaningful, consider documenting it privately or sharing it only with those who were part of it. By keeping cherished moments within her family, Diane felt a stronger connection to her loved ones and a renewed sense of trust. This act of preservation became a source of pride and joy, reminding her of the value of protecting what matters most. So how's that for a masterclass in keeping life drama-free? By holding on to these little nuggets of wisdom, you're not just protecting your peace. You're basically a boundary-setting ninja. Now go ahead and flex those newfound skills. And hey, don't forget to share your favorite tip in the comments. Let's swap stories, friend. Yay.